Hey guys, Disciplinary Magic here, back with another episode of the weirdest cards in MTG's history, and the first one is a real doozy. The first card today to bring the weirdness is Ice Cauldron. Now, as soon as you saw this card, you're probably thinking what I am. It is way too early in the morning to be dealing with that giant wall of text, and it's 11:30 at night. So the original card, and I might not have this quite right because it's so low res and such small font, but I think it says pay X, tap it, and then put a charge counter on Ice Cauldron and put a spell card face up on Ice Cauldron. Note the type and amount of mana used to pay this activation cost. Use this ability only if there are no charge counters on Ice Cauldron. You may play that spell card as though it were in your hand, and then tap, remove the charge counter from Ice Cauldron and add mana of the type and amount last used to put a charge counter on Ice Cauldron to your mana pool. This mana is usable only to cast the spell on top of Ice Cauldron. Like, what? Alright, so the Oracle text makes a lot more sense. I'm just going to burn through it. It's X tap, put a charge counter on Ice Cauldron, and exile a non-land card from your hand. So any spell, basically. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. Note the type and amount of mana spent to pay this activation cost. So the color and the amount. Activate this ability only if there are no charge counters on Ice Cauldron. So that's like the state variable, the binary condition. Basically, the charge counter indicates that it's loaded with an exiled card. So then you can tap it, remove a charge counter from Ice Cauldron, add Ice Cauldron's last noted type and amount of mana, spend this mana only to cast the last card exiled with Ice Cauldron. So you're probably thinking, why? I mean, yeah, you'd protect it from being removed from your hand, I guess. But the whole point is you might want the spell to go off alongside another spell as like some kind of combo or something. So you pay a boatload of mana into X and then load up the spell into the Ice Cauldron and then wait for next turn. Then you cast, Fork or whatever, where like the next spell is duplicated. I think that's what that does. And then you tap this, add an amount of mana equal to whatever you paid in last time, and then cast the spell basically prepaid. So for some kind of killer combo or for some kind of really weird like storm, I guess it would be okay, but this is just weird, and it took me a while to figure out what it actually does. So yeah, definitely one of the weirdest cards, needlessly long wording. I mean, I can't think of a better way to word it, but it's just so convoluted and it's such small text. I would have just not printed it if I were Wizards. I mean, it's just stupid. And as you might have expected, the ruling section on the Gatherer for this card is a short novel. So let's move on to one of the craziest cards you have ever seen. With one tiny little caveat, this is among the absolute most powerful counterspell effects in the game. You can use it an unlimited number of times. I mean, this is basically counterspell on Isochron Scepter, and it's not blue. I'm, of course, talking about Life Force. Now, the way that this card was originally printed was it's a 2-cost enchantment, double green, and then you pay double green at any point and destroy a black spell. I love that wording. They should bring that back. As it is being cast. This use may be played as an interrupt, okay, that phrasing I don't miss, and does not affect black cards already in play. So remember, there is one white counterspell, it's called Mana Tithe, and that was supposed to be like an alternate reality, time travel, different dimension of magic, like what could have happened if the colors of mana were different, and it was like a whole flavor lore thing. This is just a green counterspell. That is all there is to it. I guess they got away with it because back then, like on the color pie or whatever, it's like, oh, well, green is anti-black because black kills stuff and green is all about life. And, so this seemed appropriate at the time, I guess. But this is literally the green counterspell, except you get to use it over and over and over. I mean, you don't even tap the damn thing. This spell is absolutely crazy. Okay, are you ready to be bombarded with absolute weirdness? Okay, number one, there's no Oracle text for this at all in the Gatherer. I mean, you can imagine what it would be, but they just didn't write it, ever. Which is kind of weird, because it was printed 6 times. Also, Life Force isn't 2 words, which is odd. And third, this card's legal in Commander. Okay, if you're playing green, run this card. I mean, I don't even care if your opponents might not be playing black. If they are, it's worth it, okay? I mean, the look on their face when they read this atrocity of a card, I mean, they're never going to get another spell off as long as the entire game goes on. It is over for them for 2 mana. I mean, this card's honestly just like a slap in the face to the entire game, but it's just so narrow and like everybody's heard of it. Why not? Let's leave it legal in Commander. Screw it. I'm not even going to call for it to be banned. Who cares? Next up, Lightning Storm. So it's an instant that costs 3, double red of course, and Lightning Storm deals X damage to target creature or player where X is 3 plus the number of charge counters on it, and discard a land, put 2 charge counters on Lightning Storm. What? You may choose a new target for it. Any player may play this ability, but only if Lightning Storm is on the stack. Wow, what person on DeviantArt put together this card without knowing how the rules work? Oh, that's right. It's a real card. As far as I know, this is the only spell in the entire game that is an instant with an activated ability, although it's debatable how you would define that, but there's nothing directly exactly equivalent to this that I recall. So the fact that this card single-handedly made up a new mechanic and that we've never heard from it since, that's going to get you on some kind of weird list, okay? So I put it on this one. So besides the fact that while it's on the stack, people can activate an ability of it and any player can do it, what does this actually do? Well, I mean, going with the Oracle text, because it's always a little bit more familiar and clear, it deals X damage to any target where X is 3 plus the number of charge counters on it. So it would go 3, then 5, then 7, then 9. And I say that because you can only add them 2 at a time. So then the ability while it's on the stack is discard a land, and any player can do this. So discard a land, it's a little steep, but okay. Then put 2 charge counters on Lightning Storm, and then you, now see, who's the you, though? That's where I might have to actually go to the ruling section, but you may choose a new target for it. Any player may activate this ability, but only if Lightning Storm is on the stack. So can somebody redirect the spell by activating this? Because it doesn't, like, add a second target. It literally moves the target of the spell. Oh my gosh, I read all the rulings, and they don't make it clear. So you're the owner, so does you mean the owner, or is it the controller of the ability at the time? Well, are they even the controller of the ability, or did they just pay for it? But it does say any player may activate the ability. I legit don't know what this card does. It's either other players can contribute to the damage because it's hilarious in a multiplayer that could fry their, shared enemy even harder, or they could basically steal the spell and redirect it by discarding a land. Now this is interesting though. When you cast Lightning Storm, you immediately have a chance to activate its ability since you'll have priority. If you don't, and all other players pass, the spell will just resolve. You won't receive priority again, and thus won't get another chance to activate its ability after everybody already passed and you passed the first time. Unless somebody else activates Lightning Storm's activated ability, or casts a spell in response, which is interesting, or activates some other ability, because then priority was passed to them, and then priority is passed back to you to respond, and you could, discard a land again in response. So you cannot say, oh, is anybody else going to activate this? No? Okay, I am. No, it's too late. So assuming that the person can basically redirect this is the dumbest spell I've ever seen in my life. It's like, oh, I'm going to kick it up to 5 damage. Okay, who else wants to activate it? Oh, and it's hitting me now. I don't know. I have no idea if that's how this works. I'm sure somebody already explained it in the comment section. Who cares? Let's move on. One of my all-time favorites, it's Naked Singularity, and everybody loves this card who's seen it. That artwork is ridiculous. And that's also, by the way, the exact opposite of what a theorized Naked Singularity would look like or do. A Naked Singularity is a singularity with no gravity around it. It's just somehow a singularity that doesn't bend space and time. It's very theoretical, not proven at all. Allegedly, if the radius is like the same as the Planck length or Schwarzschild radius or whatever the hell it's called, and then you got it to rotate, it's like it's not infinitely small, but it's close. So then if you got it to rotate faster than the speed of light, it might not be able to affect space, and thus it wouldn't emit gravity. Okay, enough about theoretical physics. What does the damn card do? Well, it's a 5-cost artifact, cumulative upkeep 3, so good luck with that. So I like the Oracle text better. It's, if tapped for mana, plains produce 1 red mana, islands produce green mana, swamps produce white mana, mountains produce blue mana, and forests produce black mana instead of any other type. The funny thing is, this is so straightforward, there's only 3 rulings for it. Basically, if a land has more than 1 basic land type, then the player tapping the land for mana can choose to produce mana of either color, but if it produces more than 1 mana, all mana is of the same color. That's kind of weird. And remember, this said like plains, not basic land plains. So anything marked as a plains is now stuck-ish. So this card's just funny. I mean, that cumulative upkeep is utterly ridiculous. You're never going to be able to pay that past like 2 or 3 turns. I mean, not under like normal circumstances. People can generate infinite mana if they want. Actually, that would be a fun combo, come to think of it. But yeah, this, it doesn't protect itself or anything, but it's just funny. It's just so stupidly funny. And the cumulative upkeep is, of course, generic color. It doesn't matter what color it is. So, I mean, you screw over your own lands, but nobody else is doing anything. I mean, there are way better, cheaper, more effective ways to just like shut down and freeze the board state the way it is. And this doesn't even always do that. Somebody might be totally affected by this and somebody else might just be like, okay, whatever. Like, I could use that color. I have non-plains, white sources. But it's just funny. I mean, it's such a chaotic, stupid card, and naturally it's legal in Commander, and naturally people play it in Commander. I just picked it because the artwork's hilarious. Everybody knows this famous card because it's just so wacky and stupid. It's not even powerful or good, but it's weird as hell. So next up, this one's weird for a different reason, a couple reasons. Phage the Untouchable, quad black. Hello, that's Phyrexian Obliterator mana, +3 generic. Legendary creature, Avatar Minion. Okay. Costing 4 of 1 color. That's a little weird. Avatar Minion, which those 2 words are antonyms. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Like, Avatar means you're a physical representation of a larger, more powerful force. And Minion means you're probably not. I'm not saying there's 0 crossover there, but it seems odd. Oh, let's cram some more weird onto the card. When Phage the Untouchable enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it from your hand, you lose the game. That should be a game rule permanently. I hate free casting. It's so broken. They had to ban Marvel for a reason, guys. So do not cheat this into play. You will lose the game. Yeah. Put Platinum Angel up. Put Gideon's Emblem out. Ha ha ha. Don't be that guy. Don't do that. But wait, there's more. Whenever Phage deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. It can't be regenerated. Okay, that would be Mega Death Touch. By the way, if you don't know the history of the Mega keyword, I'm not going to explain it here, but it's a meme. But wait, there's more. Now for 3 easy payments, $19.99, whenever Phage deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there are cards that your opponent can cast that would make a creature you own deal combat damage to you. Well, other than like them just, stealing it for a turn or permanently. Picture this. They cast it, boom, act of treason. You hit them with it. They lose the game. You lose Phage because, well, it would have gone to their side anyway, but when they lose the game, all permanents that they control are returned to them. By the way, if they attach an emblem to you and they lose the game, the emblem stays. Dumb rule. They should change it. So this has got to be the harshest, strictest, craziest, most out of control, whacked out card. And it was perfectly appropriate for them to be like, oh, well, you want to cheat it out from the graveyard or something? Resurrect it or, free cast it with show and tell? Screw you. Lose the game. You are going to pay 7 mana to bring this into the field and you're going to like it. I just love everything about this card. It is completely bonkers. It's completely crazy and I love it. Next up, Spellweaver Volute. Or something like that. What is that in the picture? I don't know. What's a volute? I also don't know. It looks and sounds like something from a Dr. Seuss book, so I'm going to say that's what it is. Well, this is the wonderful Future Sight frame, the worst change to a Magic card ever in the entire history of the game, and that includes those stupid Kamigawa flip it upside down bullshit cards. So this is an enchantment, aura, okay. Enchant instant card in a graveyard. Let me stop you right there. That's not how that works. That's not how anything in the game works. That's a violation of the game rules. How would you even do that? Wouldn't it just not resolve? Let's go to ruling number 1. This aura targets and enchants an instant card in a graveyard. This is the first aura that enchants something that's neither a permanent nor a player. That is word for word what the ruling says. They don't just want to tell you, to reiterate specifically how it works, but they're like, yeah, if that seems weird to you, this is the only spell that's ever done this. So naturally, being the only card that has ever done this ever, unless there was one after it, which I don't think there was, I had to include this on the weirdest cards list. It's crazy. In fact, ruling number 2, this is just, it gets even weirder. The aura will be on the battlefield, but attached to a card in a different zone. The aura won't be in the graveyard, and the enchanted card won't be on the battlefield. So it's on the battlefield, but it opens a wormhole to the foreign zone of the graveyard zone and then attaches from there. But it isn't in it, so it attaches without being in the same zone, which is not how any of that works. If the enchanted card changes zones, like it's removed from the graveyard, put into the exile zone or in play, deck, library, whatever, then this falls off, as they put it. Literally, they use the term falls off in double quotes. They're just rewriting the entire rules of the game to get around this stupid, idiotic card. So anyway, what does this stupid thing do? So whenever you play a sorcery spell, copy the enchanted instant card, you may play the copy without paying its mana cost. If you do, remove the enchanted card from the game and attach Spellweaver Volute to another instant card in the graveyard. So it's like really crappy discount flashback, I guess, for 5. I mean, it's good. I'm not going to say it's not good, but for 5, it's a little expensive. And, I mean, just run like Torrential or something, or some kind of wizard, some kind of red-blue wizard. They tend to do stuff like this. I don't know. I mean, it's not terrible and it jumps around, but I don't like cards that rewrite the game rules. I just don't go for that. So you can do some powerful stuff with this. I'm sure it's played in something, but I just really don't like this card. But since it's so weird, so unique, had to put it on this list. And finally, we are ending with a doozy here. It is Transcendence. This is a 6-cost triple white enchantment. So you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Fantastic. When you have 20 or more life, you lose the game. By the way, let me add, immediately is a state-based action. And whenever you lose life, you gain 2 life for each 1 life you lost. Damage dealt to you causes you to lose life. I can see why this set was called Torment. So just throw this out and then throw a Platinum Angel out, right? Because Platinum Angel is the solution to all of the problems in your entire life. Wrong. Let's read the one and only ruling together, shall we? If your life total is 20 or more and you control an effect that states you can't lose the game, then an infinite loop is formed. They're not offset, it's an infinite loop. You attempt to lose the game and then it's prevented. Then you attempt to lose the game, then it's prevented. But it never stops. Well, I'd say triggers, but it's like losing the game as a state-based action is not what I would call a trigger, but we'll just say the triggers keep going over and over and over. You can't progress, you can't go to the next phase. So, an infinite loop is formed if neither player wants to end the loop by removing one of these 2 cards from the battlefield. The game ends in a draw. Okay, for those of you out there thinking, that's not how the rules work, you are sort of correct and sort of not. The rules state something to the effect of, if an infinite combo goes onto the stack, you can choose when to just stop it. Even if it doesn't say may. Like, you may do this, you may trigger this. If it's a true infinite combo, you just pick a stopping point and say that it stopped there. So if you have an infinite life gain combo, you just say it stops at 10 million. And then you proceed with the game. This is not an ability or trigger, and it's not on the stack. This is you losing the game as a state-based action. It is a trigger and it's not. That's the thing. So I guess the rule doesn't apply to it. I mean, I would have just made the rule apply to it. That would have been much simpler. Just call it a trigger and be done with it. I don't know. Maybe it is a trigger. Well, okay, so the trigger would go on the stack, but then the effect wouldn't. But the problem is then but as soon as you end it, a new trigger would go on the stack, but not if you say that it ended. That's why, I don't know. I don't get this. Who cares? Well, what I don't get is, how is the solution to have... It's as if neither player wants to end the loop by removing one of the 2 cards from the battlefield. So your opponent can just say, I don't like your infinite loop. I'm going to remove this from your battlefield because I chose to. What the hell are you talking about? An infinite loop goes off between Felidar and Saheeli, so you just say, you know what? I'm your opponent, and I'm going to remove Felidar from play. What the hell are you talking about? That's not a thing. That can't happen. Your opponent can never just arbitrarily remove one of your permanents from play because they feel like it. You know what? This ruling is incorrect. I'm calling it. This ruling is wrong. Whoever wrote it is a moron. That's not how any of this works. That's not what the rules say. Just ignore this ruling. It was written in 2004, and clearly the person didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So it's weird for that reason too, but it's also weird because it's really weird. So if I were to break down what this card actually does, if you actually want to play it, which just don't. I mean, it's legal in Commander, but just really. So if you drop below 0 life, you don't lose the game. Cool. When you have 20 or more, you lose. Simple. So you want to keep it below 20. But whenever you lose life, you gain 2 life for each 1 life you lost. Now, this doesn't sound like a replacement effect to me, and there's no ruling stating otherwise. Maybe because whoever wrote the rulings for this card is an idiot. So you will have lost the life. Like, it occurred, but then you gain 2 for every 1. So basically, it doesn't prevent the 1 damage or whatever. You just heal from it twice as much. So they hit you for 5 and you lose the 5, but then you gain 10, so you go up by 5. So all damage is effectively inverted, I guess. Now, I don't remember the rule on paying life. Like if you have an ability that says pay to life, that either is or isn't considered losing life. I don't remember. So do take note of that when you're playing this card, because it might be a way around it. Now, the obvious problem with this card is it doesn't say the inverse. When you gain life, you lose twice as much. So you can't just like be like, oh, I'm a lich. Everything's reversed. It's a D&D reference. Negative energy heals me and holy energy or healing energy hurts me. Ooh. So you would really have to have a way to damage yourself. And if you did, wouldn't it be better spent damaging your opponent? So like that, really, this is just a really bad card. But it is pretty funny and it is weird as hell. So, had to put it on this list, of course. So that's it for this roundup. If you have any recommendations, put them down in the comment section below. But there were, like 40 cards covered in the last 6 chapters of this series. So, maybe watch those before posting a repeat. Although I did record them 2 years ago and they're terrible. But other than that, thanks for watching and I will see you guys next video.